us together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Actually, talking about my last holiday at Secrets Silversands hasn't had the desired effect. I'm not feeling happy, and looking back on my last holiday, I'm still feeling, especially as it's still raining outside the studio window. And I know that I'm not travelling this year because of the house move. But on the plus side, I'm getting a new home. So yippee. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, when you're travelling for leisure can be a very emotional experience. And there's a lot of people, myself included, wish they could never come home and just keep travelling. It is possible to spend the rest of your life travelling. It is a scary thing to do. You do need to be committed and you do need to have a plan. I mean, there's people who are living in the Far East who, because of the way they do their work, they can work remotely over the internet. They're being paid in their local currency, and most of the time they're Americans and they're getting paid in dollars. And that's very strong against the currency of where they're staying. So they're working relatively part-time, getting paid good money, and because of where they've decided to live and how they decided to live, they're living like kings, and you can do it. You just need to make the decision that you're going to sell up and do it. One family that did do that are calling themselves the Traveling Chimps. It's CJ and Andrea, who are the parents of 2 kids. They're travelling the USA. They decided they had enough of the traditional 9-to-5 job, high-power executive and all the stresses and strains that come with that. They're going to travel around the USA by basically house sitting. And if you've not come across house sitting before, people want to go away. They want to make sure that their home is safe and secure. So they pay people to sit there and water the plants, look after the garden, maybe even look after the pets. So you can travel around looking after people's houses and earn an income as well. There are quite a few people who want people to look after the house and they don't pay. They just think that you can do it as a holiday. So you do have to be careful about how you choose where you're going to be staying, because you need to eat, obviously. But anyway, CJ and Andrea are now going to tell us why they decided to stop being the traditional family and travel the USA.
So the Traveling Chimps are myself, CJ, my wife, Andrea, and then we have 2 kids as well. We have an 8-year-old son named Jack and a 6-year-old daughter named Tess.
So how long did you decide you wanted to travel across the USA?
So we decided that we were going to do this in February of this year. And we needed to give our landlord a 60-day notice. So we decided in February, we gave notice, and we hit the road, I don't know, I think the end of March, March 26th, I believe, something like that. And our first spot to hit was California. We had a house sit in a little place called Happy Camp, California. So it took us, I don't know, a little over a week to drive from Lidditz, Pennsylvania to Portland, Oregon first.
It was longer than a week because we got stuck in South Dakota for almost a week because of a snowstorm.
We did. There was a blizzard. And we got stuck in South Dakota. But the interesting thing about that is South Dakota ended up actually being one of the highlights of the northern trip across the United States.
Yeah.
Which we were kind of shocked by. We knew Mount Rushmore was there, but we stayed in Sioux Falls, which was an excellent area with really cool waterfalls, and then we hit the Badlands. Then we hit Mount Rushmore, went to Crazy Horse, which isn't far from Mount Rushmore. So actually, South Dakota was a pretty cool experience overall.
That's pretty good. So what was a typical day for your family back in January this year?
So I've kind of typically had positions over the last, 8-10 years.
Yeah.
That I pretty much traveled exclusively. I would leave Monday morning and I was, lucky to be back Friday evening. So that was a big driving factor in us kind of doing what we're doing today, is that, I was kind of missing what was going on at home. I was kind of missing all the kids' kind of first things, so that was, kind of the driving force behind all of this.
So they were wondering who you were at the weekend. Is that what was happening?
Yeah, actually, the breaking point was my daughter said, "Where does Daddy actually live?"
That's a bit of a killer.
Yeah, and I said, "Oh, we have to change something here."
Yeah.
So that was the moment that made you decide you needed to change.
Yeah.
What was the reaction of your friends and family?
Well, overwhelmingly positive, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at first both our moms were a little confused. They kept saying, "I don't really get it. I don't get it. What are you doing?"
Yeah, they didn't understand.
Did you have any? Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, we did our first blog post about our decision to do this, and that was kind of how we unveiled this whole thing to the world. Mm-hmm. And it really, overwhelmingly was a positive response. The only negative response that I'm aware of was a friend or a client of my mother's, and she kind of made some, I think it was more like a homeschooling sort of remarks to my mom. And then my mom didn't understand it. So my mom kind of, took it kind of weird and came to me saying, well, I'm just not going to tell people what you're doing. And I'm thinking, well, that's a really silly way of going through life, right? I mean,
Hiding what your son's doing.
Come on, it's just one person. So a week later, my mom had a friend over who is very, I don't know, new agey, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we walked in the door and she was giving us hugs and telling us what a great thing we were doing. And I think that really kind of eased the tension with my mother, at least. My father, I didn't even tell him we were doing it. Yeah.
Oh dear. So everybody is quite positive, but did you have any negative thoughts of your own?
Yeah. So I think on our own, so initially, Andrea has been sort of the driving force behind the whole house sitting and pet sitting piece. And, she went on and set up these accounts with a couple different providers, I guess, or websites. And the one, I think the one we've had the most luck with is Trusted House Sitters. Yeah. And our first kind of foray down that, we put in for one of them. I don't even remember what it was, but we put in for a house sit, and the homeowner got back to us and said, the response has been overwhelming, and we need to take some time and go through all the applicants, and we'll get back to you. So my immediate response is, this isn't going to work.
We got a few of those too. It was like time and time again. We kept applying, and we didn't find any.
Yeah. So
they kept saying, "Oh, we've had hundreds of applicants," and we were like, "Uh-oh."
I was like, man, there's a lot. There's a lot of competition out here. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we just started nailing them. We just started getting them left and right. We got them to the point where we were actually turning them away.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't. Our dates were overlapping, and it didn't work out. And I really think that us doing this as a family, a lot of people are comfortable with that. They know that we're not going to come into your house and destroy it or throw parties or, we have kids. Now, I will say, too, that it's hurt us a few times, too. Yeah. Certainly, we've had a couple where we've applied and the person said, well, my dog's not really good with kids, so it probably wouldn't be a good fit, which I appreciate because I'd rather not go in there and have issues with a dog, so...
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Mike Barry.
And I'm Bob Bluffield.
And together with Alan Mullion, we bring you The Grumpy Old Men on Saturday morning between 8 and 10. We take a look back at what's been happening during the week and let's just say discuss it.
Oh yes, we do play some good music as well. That's all here every Saturday morning between 8 and 10 on Seclo Sounds.
You can make comments about the show at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I'm speaking to the senior half, or the mum and dad of the family calling themselves the Traveling Chimps. They're travelling around the USA as, instead of having a proper job, not a proper job, but as a normal, usual, expected job, they decided to travel around house sitting and doing little bits of jobs here and there. Instead of sitting in one place, they're travelling around. And we're now going to find out what sort of planning was involved for them to be able to take this step. So when you were putting all this together, Andrea found the websites and stuff, but what other planning did you do and what resources did you use to plan your trip across the country?
Well, I think we went to My Scenic Drives to find like a route to go to get us to Happy Camp. And that let me put in like all different spots where I knew we would want to stop and let the kids see and sightsee and things like that. So that was fantastic because it gave us a big guideline of how to get across and being able to stop where we wanted to stop. Mm-hmm. And then we used Priceline Express deals like crazy to get us from that one destination to the next.
Before you set off, did you have a list of top 5 goals about what you wanted to achieve when you did this trip?
Not really, to be real honest with you. We knew that we needed to be across the country to California by whatever date it was to do our first house sit. Other than that, though, we really kind of fly by the seat of our pants. Most days in between house sits when we're driving, most days we don't even know where we're going to sleep that night until 6, 7 o'clock, maybe an hour before we actually check in.
Yeah.
So no, but that's an excellent question because, I mean, I really feel like people probably should set goals and write goals down so, work towards them to accomplish them. But I mean, to be real honest with you, we didn't really have that.
Well, I think one of our goals is to break out of the box, to break out of the mold of 9 to 5 and buying a house and buying more stuff and more stuff and more stuff.
Yeah.
For what?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we wanted to pay more attention to having experiences in our life and enjoying our kids and breaking out of the mold of all that and of everybody telling us you have to do this, you have to, buy a house and have all this fancy cars and
really
go to work to buy more stuff. We didn't want to do that anymore.
Right. I mean, we really we don't want to wait till we retire to go see the world. We want to see the world now while we're able and capable of actually really exploring it, So, I mean, we were in Grand Canyon, and I remember having a conversation with an older gentleman from Pittsburgh. Awesome guy, but he was having breathing issues, and he wasn't able to walk out onto the little peninsula there to get a real bird's eye view of the canyon. Mm-hmm. And I felt really bad about that.
Well, he said it too. He said, you should do it now.
Yeah.
While you're young and able to, go experience everything you can and have all the stamina you have. He said, I wish I did that instead of waiting.
Yep, I agree. Do it all now.
Yeah.
I once saw a documentary, going a little bit off track, about French families. A lot of French families sell up and buy a yacht and sail around the world with their kids just so their kids can experience different cultures and stuff. And that's always seemed a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, that's an excellent thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a pretty good following on social media and whatnot, and there's a number of people doing that exact thing, and I think that's awesome. Really
I think that's
awesome.
our next thing too, is to leave the United States and go explore other places so that our kids can see other ways of life and other cultures and just to experience life. I mean, there's more to life than just this one spot.
Yeah, yes, definitely. You've already said you've had one surprise with the Sioux Falls and South Dakota, you said, didn't you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Has there been any other surprises that have caught you out since you left in February?
Yeah, there has. So as much as we fly by our pants, sometimes that is kind of bit us in the butt, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So in
It's
one
fun,
instance,
but sometimes you need to plan a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess when there's big things that we want to go witness or check out, I think we need to do a little bit better job of researching it. And why I say that is one of our big stops on our first trip across the United States was to stay in Yellowstone. So we left Rapid City, South Dakota, and we headed for Cody, Wyoming to stay the night there. And that was, I don't know, just outside of the eastern gate of Yellowstone. So we check in at like 11 o'clock at night, and I say to the kid, I call him a kid. He was an older guy. To this old guy as I'm checking in, he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, we're going to go to Yellowstone tomorrow." And he said, "Sir, Yellowstone's closed." I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, it's snowed closed. That's not going to open. The roads aren't going to open for another 4 weeks."
He said the road is covered with 15 feet of snow. Unless you have a snowmobile with you, you're not going to anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. So basically, we drove to Cody, Wyoming to go to